Soil formation. If you head out to the yard, you will notice that plants and trees and even grass have all rooted in soil. But what is soil and where did it come from? Well, one of the main ingredients of soil comes from what is called bedrock. And bedrock is actually a solid layer of rock beneath the soil. At one time, the surface of this bedrock was exposed, but over time, that bedrock gradually weathered into smaller and smaller particles, which started becoming the basic material of soil. Now, soil is loose, weathered material on Earth's surface in which plants can grow, but it is made of smaller particles of that weathered bedrock, but it's also small pieces combined with a mixture of minerals, decayed organic material from dead organisms over thousands of years, water, and air. Soil can come in different compositions, different textures, and even different sizes. Soil particles range in size from larger gravel pieces to clay particles that are too small to even be seen with the naked eye. We also said that soil is made up of decayed organic material, and this decayed organic material in soil is called humus. Humus is a dark colored substance that forms as plant and animal remains decay. Humus not only creates pockets in the soil for water and air that plants need to survive, but it also contains nutrients that the plants need in order to grow. And we know as plants grow, they absorb nutrients from the soil. So if soil is rich in nutrients and plants can grow well in it, then that soil is fertile. The measure of how well soil supports plant growth is called fertility. Generally, soil that has a high amount of humus has high fertility, like that which you may see in your green, grassy yard or in your gardens. Compare this to maybe sandy soil that contains very little humus, then that has very low fertility. The texture of soil is also very important for plant growth. If the soil is very dense and clay, then this may not be the best soil for plants, and it's because it's holding too much water. Now compare this to the sandy soil in which water goes through too fast and doesn't hold water for plants, then it is not that well best suited. The best type of soil for plants is called loam. And loam is a soil that is made up of about equal parts of clay, sand, and silt, and it's a perfect texture for holding both air and water. And we know that soil formation is constantly being formed through bedrock being exposed, and it's even going on now, and it's going to continue over a long period of time. Through this time, soil develops layers called horizons. And a soil horizon is a layer of soil that differs in colors and texture from the layers above or below it. Here is a cross section of soil horizons. Now, if you were to go out and dig a hole in the ground to plant a tree, maybe about a meter deep, you would see different soil horizons. Scientists classify soil into three horizons, A, B, and C. The A horizon is made up of topsoil, which is dark brown soil that easily crumbles, and it's a mixture of humus, clay, and other materials. The B horizon, often referred to as subsoil, consists of particles that have been washed down from the A horizon and a little bit of humus and some clay particles. The C horizon is the bottom layer closest to the bedrock and contains partly weathered rock. Now, every part of soil contains billions of organisms. This illustration shows some of organisms that are typically found in soil. Now, these organisms enrich humus with the remains or waste, and these organisms also help make the soil fertile because they make spaces in the soil for air and water. The largest contributor of humus are plants, especially those that shed their leaves. These leaves form a loose layer on the top called litter. And when plants die, their remains also become part of the litter. Humus forms in a process called decomposition. And decomposition occurs by organisms that are called decomposers. Now, decomposers live in the soil and are organisms that break down the remains of dead organisms into smaller pieces through a chemical process. And these include worms, fungus like molds and mushrooms, bacteria, and other organisms. Looking at this illustration here, what other organisms do you see that help air and water to enter the soil? Soil is one of Earth's most valuable natural resources. Remember that a natural resource is anything in the environment that humans use. Soil is so important because everything that lives on land, including humans, depend directly or indirectly on soil. However, activities and changes in the environment can affect the soil. Human activity in particular can cause severe soil damage and loss. And the value of soil is reduced when soil loses its fertility and when topsoil is lost due to erosion. Now remember, the weathering of bedrock that starts forming soil takes hundreds to thousands of years for just a few centimeters of soil to form. Only about 1/8 of the land on Earth has fertile soils that are well suited for farming. In the early 1900s, a man by the name of George Washington Carver taught new methods of soil conservation to farmers to encourage restoring soil fertility. Soil conservation is the management of soil to prevent its destruction and can be conserved through three methods, including contour plowing, conservation plowing, and crop rotation. Contour plowing teaches farmers to plow their fields along curves in the slope of the land, which helps slow runoff and excess rainfall from washing the soil away. Conservation plowing is when farmers were taught to disturb the soil and the plants as little as possible. This means that they were to leave dead weeds and the stalks of last year's crop in the ground because we know this helps create humus, which in turn returns soil nutrients to the soil. And then when farmers plant different crops in a field each year, this is called crop rotation. The reason this helps soil conservation is because different types of plants absorb different amounts of nutrients from the soil. So for example, one year farmers might grow corn, which absorbs a lot of nutrients. And then maybe the next year that farmer would plant barley, which doesn't use as many nutrients. If you live around farmland, have you ever recognized any types of this soil conservation? All right, I think it's time now to stop and show what you know.